everyone. Welcome to another episode of Podcast Based Learning, the podcast where we dive into everything education, keeping it real, practical, and of course fun. I'm Charles, and I'm your host for today.
And I'm Charmy, your co-host. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a really interesting topic today, something that's changing the way we teach and learn. We're talking about the problem-based learning or PBL, the teaching approach that's all about turning your classroom into a dynamic hub of critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration.
That's right. Instead of just memorizing facts and formulas, PBL actually encourages students to apply what they learn to real world contexts. But this begs the question, how does it actually work? Is it worth it? And how do teachers apply it in their classrooms?
Well, to help us figure that out, we've got some amazing guests joining us today. We've invited two awesome teachers who have first-hand experience with PBL in their subjects.
Yep, and this one is going to be fun. Because guess what? They're actually good friends of ours. They're both incredible educators with a ton of experience, and they're also PBL enthusiasts. Let's introduce you to them. First off, we have Mr. Roy Miguel de Giles, a high school math instructor who is known for turning really complex lessons and concepts into engaging experiences for his students. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey, dude, it's been a while, very long. Have a seat, have a seat. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So we haven't talked in so long. So
No,
how's teaching been going?
Well, teaching it's like a roller coaster. It gets really wild. So I've been really busy, but it's been great. Actually, I love teaching, yeah.
I bet. And of course, joining Mr. Migueles is also a good friend of mine, Miss Mariel Fostanes. She is a middle school science teacher who has a huge advocate for PBL. Let's welcome her.
Hi everyone! It's been so long!
Have a seat.
Thank you!
So, Miss Mariel, it's been forever. So, how's life in science classroom?
Well, you know what? Teaching has been so fun to me.
Yes.
It's have a lot of experience, a lot of chaos at the same time.
Right.
But that's the good part, right? The
Yeah,
fun part.
Yes. Fantastic. You were always the one who loved hands-on science stuff. So, has anything crazy happened in your class lately?
Oh, just the usual. Students almost set things on fire, but in a scientific way, of course.
Well, now that we know our guests for today, welcome to the show, everyone. I'd just like to ask them before we actually start, how, Mr. Guinness and Ms. Fostanes, how have both of you been doing today?
Honestly, been doing really great. I'm actually really excited to talk about one of my favorite teaching strategies.
Right.
Yeah, but first, let's drop the formalities. Come on, let's get the formalities.
Yeah, that's right.
It is a bedtime. Okay.
Right. Let's talk casual and professional at the same time.
Right. That's good to hear, it's so nice of both of you to join us despite your busy schedules.
No, it's completely fine. Actually, I really wouldn't miss it for the world. How about you? Would you?
No, of course.
My good friends.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fantastic discussion. So, let's jump in, shall we?
Yes, sure, that's right. And of course, to kick things off, we have a very big question that we actually have to address. What exactly is PBL?
Yes, that's right. To answer that, let's hear it from Mr. Roy, since you've been using PBL in your classroom.
Oh, me?
Yes.
That's correct. All right, so problem-based learning, or PBL, right, is a teaching method that actually encourages students to tackle and try to solve open-ended problems, right? So because of this, it's actually very student-centered and it promotes critical thinking, collaboration, and lifelong learning, which is very useful.
It's awesome.
Exactly. Instead of discussing science, I present my students with a possible, problems and ask them for a possible solution as well.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
that's so empowering for students.
Right, definitely. But, as someone, who's possibly hearing about this for the first time, the next question would be, why is it important?
Oh, well, what makes PBL important is that it actually it shifts the focus from passive learning into active problem solving. Right. So just like what I mentioned about the skills earlier, you're now instead of memorizing things, right? You're actually applying the knowledge to real life context. This is completely essential for students in, in our modern growing world.
Right.
You get what I mean? So, like, PBL brings students together, but it also helps them work together to solve a problem. And ultimately, that leads to collaboration and teamwork skills. So that's what makes PBL so important.
There's the action and collaborative. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also this encourages students to take full responsibility of their own learning.
Yeah.
For example, instead of discussing climate change, they have to present their findings. So the point is, PBL encourages students to become, learn independently throughout their lives.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
So PBL makes learning more active and relevant for students by helping them apply their learning to real world settings.
Yeah.
And, that builds a lot of things, right? As mentioned, teamwork, independent learning skills.
Yeah.
And these things help them become more prepared, not just for school, but also for real life.
That's right, Charles. But how does it actually work? Miss Marielle, can you walk us through the process?
Yeah, sure. So PBL actually works. First, students have to group themselves to tackle real world problems. And second, they have to identify gaps to organize their thoughts. And third one, they have to work independently to research and find solutions. And for the last one, they have to regroup again to find, possible solutions and synthesize and organize and present their findings.
Well, I love how structured that is, while still being so flexible and dynamic.
Same here. It sounds like a fantastic way to keep students engaged with real world issues. And what's really fascinating is that it not only teaches students what to learn, but also how to learn the things that they're learning.
No, right. See, this is exactly why PBL is one of my absolute favorite teaching strategies. Because once again, it shifts that focus for the students towards learning skills that they will still use long after they're done with school.
That's amazing. Mr. Roy, can you give us an example of a problem that you presented to your class?
Oh, so, okay. An example, yeah. One of my absolute favorite, one of my absolute favorite examples I've given to my students. So I had asked them so the problem was they were gonna have a road trip across the province.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right. So here, the thing was, I asked them, okay, well, now you guys are gonna have to plan it. So they're gonna have to calculate the distances, the cost of the fuel, of course, as well. They have to plan a budget for the food, lodging, and as well as like the activities they took. So again, they actually had to start comparing with each other, like all these numbers they detailed, even including unexpected costs, right? Like tolls, depending on the bridge. And it's just really fun because we've made math practical. This is algebra, percentages, and even a financial, planning, all in one in the context of real world problems.
Dude, that's amazing. That's such a creative and meaningful way to actually engage your students. I'm sure your students were definitely engaged the whole time.
Absolutely, yeah.
I believe that's for sure.
Hey, thanks, guys. See?
I love that example, Roy. Well, in my class naman, I let my students design a creative and, renewable modern city. They have to balance their environmental impact to the urban development.
Right.
And at the end, they presented their models and, present their findings, how it reduces the pollution.
Right. That's a good PBL.
Yes.
Those examples are so engaging. What about integrating technology into PBL? Like, how does ICT enhance the experience?
Oh, well, so technology plays a huge role when it comes to PBL. Huge, right? Yeah, because I've actually had my students I've had them use budgeting apps as well as spreadsheets whenever they have to do financial planning, right? So ICT, actually, if anything, it makes it a lot more interactive for the students, but it's much more closer to like how we do it in the real world. We use all these types of tools and technologies to deal with numbers. That's kind of the whole deal with ICT and PBL.
Yeah. Well, in my case, I let my students to use simulation software online to test their designs.
Contextual application is actually one of the most effective ways to teach. But when you do that, there's bound to be some roadblocks and some challenges. And from my experience as a teacher, and I'm sure you've probably had this as well. Yeah. Especially when you do something like this, there's bound to be issues with regards to time management. Because usually stuff like this requires students to do a lot more research and to refine their experiments and solutions, especially if, given the complexity of of the outputs you've given them, right? That's something that's really time consuming. And so it's hard for us to find a balance between covering the curriculum and at the same time allowing them the freedom to actually experiment.
No, I absolutely agree. That's actually sadly true. It's something we have to face.
Yes.
Well, just to add on to this, because another issue beyond just time management, we have the assessment portion. Because as teachers, we have to assess, right? Now, the thing about problem-based learning is that, well, it's collaborative, it's about creativity, and it's about problem solving, right? This is not something we can simply measure in a grade. I've actually had times where I had to make numerous rubrics and have to include self-reflection. And this is just to make sure that it's fair because I want to evaluate my students fairly.
Yeah.
Assessment just becomes a big issue as well in problem-based learning. Sadly, we have the acceptance that's a really issue. For sure.
Oh, well, that makes sense. What about student engagement? Do students participate equally?
Not. Here's another point. This is not always. Not all students engage equally because some students are used to the structured format of a lesson, right? But if we give something that's very open-ended, they might feel lost. So I usually have to put a lot more effort into guiding these students because, I have to help them understand. So this is one way we can break down the question into manageable steps. Yeah.
Yes, that's the point. A group activity can be tricky because, sometimes only one person take the lead where the other contribute less. So for me, I have to assign the roles and check regularly. Yes.
On top of that, I think there's some other problems, especially when you talk about integrating technology, specifically on that. Were there any challenges, especially integration?
So technology is access to technology is a huge challenge for our students. Not every student is going to have access to reliable internet, to reliable personal devices at home. Yeah. And this is difficult because PDL is a collaborative activity, right? So I've had to maximize the school resources. I've asked permission for, when can we use the computer lab? Or I've also asked my students if they could share their devices at the same time. It's more of a compromise, actually.
Yeah, same here. Another issue is the learning curve with the new tools because, students and even teachers have struggled with the unfamiliar tools or software. So to address this problem, I have to give, possible alternatives like giving tutorials.
Well, wow, that makes sense. What about distractions? With technology, students get as easily sidetracked.
Ooh, that's a real concern.
One notification and then you could be in the
Pretty much no. Whenever we get students technology, it's very likely that they'll just end up opening an unrelated website or start playing games.
Yes.
Right? So the only way I've managed to tackle this is whenever I can, I have monitoring tools, whether it's either in the class or also just in the site itself. Have them monitored. But also, I make sure that their tasks are very specific and clear, so that at least there's some accountability if they decide to not do it. Yeah. Just make it clear that, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. If you do anything otherwise, then that's on you.
Yeah. Right. And on the topic of software, right? I found that some programs just don't do what they're intended to do. Like in theory and in they might sound like, oh yeah, this is perfect for this task. And then all of a sudden, oh wait, no, it's actually behind the paywall or something. That's not the paywall. And so now I have to actually test the programs that I use so that when I give to my students, it actually enhances the learning rather than makes them crave for more or just actually hurdles them. So, again, on hurdles, when we weigh all of this, the benefits, the challenges that we're facing, I want to ask you guys a question. Do you think that it's actually worth it for us to integrate ICT into PBL?
Absolutely. When used well, technology can make PBL more engaging and realistic because students can engage online and make experiments that wouldn't be possible with a method or traditional method alone.
No, seriously, I actually agree. It's worth it, right? ICT should support learning. It should never overshadow it. So that's why it is our duty to do proper guidance and planning. It's our duty to make sure that it actually becomes meaningful, that PBL is meaningful for students.
Well, that's right. It's clear that while technology has its challenges, it also offers opportunities for deep understanding. So, do you have any advice for teachers implementing PBL?
Yes, of course. First, you have to start small. You don't have to go to the big ones right away. So first, you have to try short and small manageable projects. And I also suggest to try, choose real world problems that connect your students' interests. Because if they see the relevance of the study, they'll be more engaged for sure.
That's just the truth. Yeah.
Well, so that's great. What about structuring projects?
Oh, can I take this? Yeah. No. Give clear guidelines, but allow flexibility. Okay, students need direction, but we still have to give them space to explore and think critically. This is problem-based solving. It's best that we actually just provide guide questions or just check in every step of the way to make sure that they're on the right track. Also collaboration. Once again, this is PBL. And PBL is done best when the students actually learn from each other. So when you structure a PBL, make sure to give your students roles, like if they're in teams. So that these are the roles that must be on your team, so that we make sure that every single student in the team actually contributes. Yes.
Yeah, then what about the challenges that the teachers themselves face?
I won. Okay. Or at least one piece of advice. Be patient. Right? It's gonna be extremely PBL. It's gonna be extremely messy at first.
Patience-based learning?
Patience-based learning is a good one. But ultimately, right, it's gonna take time. Problem-based solving. Problem solving itself is something that takes time, and in time your students will improve. Not just your students, but so will you as a teacher and how you implement this. So yeah, just be patient with yourself and your students.
I also have one. It's be open to learning alongside with students, because PBL isn't about finding all the answers. It's about guiding them to find the answers. And of course, if you listen to them and see them, then you'll be surprised with their ideas, I swear.
Right. That's sound a great teacher.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? These are such valuable pieces of information and insights, right? And it's clear that when you have the proper mindset and when you have the proper strategies, that PBL can be a game changer in the classroom.
Wow, we've covered so much today, from hearing what PBL is and having real world examples and practical tips for teachers.
Absolutely. And the key takeaway? PBL transforms the classroom into a dynamic space where students learn by doing, solving, and collaborating. And these are skills that will help them way past the classroom.
Until next time, keep teaching, keep learning, and keep inspiring.
That's actually such a nice quote.
Yeah.
Can we all say that at the same time?
Wait.
Teaching, learning,
Inspiring. Okay.
Right. Another one, go.
Keep teaching, keep learning, and keep inspiring.
That will be all. See you in the next episode.
Bye.